I have always loved the ocean. There is something about the endless waves, the salty wind, and the quiet isolation that feels freeing. That's why when I found a cheap beach house listing online, far from the crowded tourist spots, I didn't think again. The place was called Siesta Beach. I should have known something was wrong the moment I arrived. The sky was clear, but the beach felt empty. Not peaceful empty, abandoned. No people, no birds, not even the usual sound of seagulls screaming over scraps. Just the waves, slow and rhythmic, like breathing. The house itself stood alone on the shore, old, wooden, slightly tilted, as if the sea had been trying to pull it closer 5 years. The caretaker, an old man named Smith, handed me the keys without much eye contact. "Don't go near the water after dark," he muttered. I laughed a little. "Why? Sharks?" He didn't smile. "Just don't." The first evening was normal enough. I unpacked, made some coffee, and sat by the window watching the sunset melt into the ocean. The waves shimmered in orange light, beautiful. But then I noticed something strange. The tide wasn't moving normally. It wasn't coming in or going out. It was just staying there, frozen at the same point, like time had stopped for the ocean. I brushed it off as exhaustion and went to bed early. That night, I woke up to a sound. Knocking. Soft, wet, rhythmic. Knock, then knock, then knock. At first, I thought it was the wind or maybe a loose shutter. But then I realized the sound was coming from outside the window. My heart started pounding. The window faced the beach. Slowly, I got up and pulled the curtain aside. Nothing, just darkness and the faint outline of the ocean under moonlight. I let out a nervous breath and turned back. Knock, knock, knock. This time, louder, right behind me. I froze. The sound wasn't coming from outside anymore. It was coming from the wall. I didn't sleep after that. Morning came, and with it, some relief. Sunlight has a way of making everything feel less terrifying. I stepped outside, trying to convince myself it was all just my imagination. But then I saw something that made my stomach drop. Footprints. Wet footprints. They started from the ocean and led all the way to the side of the house. Bare, human footprints. But there was a problem. They only went in one direction. Toward the house. None came back. I went to find Smith immediately. I showed him the footprints, my voice shaking. "Someone came out of the water last night," I said. "We need to call someone." He cut me off. "Did you hear knocking?" I hesitated. "Yes." His face turned pale. "You need to leave," he said quietly. "Right now." "What? Why? What is this?" He looked toward the ocean as if it might hear him. "This beach, it doesn't let people go easily." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "What do you mean?" Smith swallowed hard. "Some years ago, there was a storm, a bad one. A fishing boat capsized just off the shore. Dozens of people drowned." He paused, but their bodies were never found. I didn't believe him, not fully. but something inside me told me to pack my things and leave anyway. Still, I decided to stay one more night. Big mistake. That evening, the ocean looked different. The water was darker, thicker, almost like oil, and the waves, they weren't moving naturally. They were pulsing like a heartbeat. I locked all the doors and windows before sunset, but deep down I knew it wouldn't matter. Midnight. Knock, knock, knock. It started again. This time louder than before, more urgent, more aggressive. I covered my ears, trying to ignore it. Then it stopped. Silence. For a moment, I thought it was over, until I heard something worse. Dripping. Slow, wet, heavy, from inside the house. I turned on the light, and my blood ran cold. Water was pooling on the floor, leading from the hallway toward my room, as if something had walked in, dripping seawater behind it. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. Then, knock. I couldn't move. Knock. Tears filled my eyes. Knock. The door handle slowly began to turn. I screamed and ran to the back window, throwing it open and jumping outside. The cold night air hit me as I sprinted across the sand. I didn't look back. I couldn't, but I heard it. Something crawling out of the house, dragging itself across the sand, following me. I ran toward the road, but something made me stop. The ocean. It was right in front of me, closer than before, too close. The tide had come in, impossibly fast, blocking my path. And then I saw them. Shapes. Dozens of them, standing in the water. Human shapes, waiting for me. Their eyes glowing faintly under the moonlight, their skin pale and bloated. And then one of them stepped forward. It looked almost human until it opened its mouth and seawater poured out. I turned to run back, but something grabbed my ankle. Cold, slimy, dead. I looked down. A hand, rotten, swollen, covered in seaweed, gripping me tightly. More hands emerged from the sand, grabbing, pulling, dragging me down. I screamed, clawing at the ground, but it was no use. They were too many, too strong. As they pulled me toward the water, I heard something inside my head. Not a voice, a feeling, a message. You stayed. Now you belong. I woke up the next morning, lying on the shore, alone, the sun shining brightly above me. For a moment, I thought it was all a nightmare, until I tried to stand and realized I couldn't feel my legs. I looked down. My skin was pale, wrinkled, like I had been underwater for days. And when I opened my mouth to scream, salt water poured out. Now I understand. The ocean doesn't just take people, it keeps them. And every night, when the tide rises, I feel it calling me back. And sometimes I find myself knocking on the walls, waiting for someone inside to let me in.